After about 8 hours, I 100%ed the Shattered Space DLC for Starfield. I didn't 100% the core game because the extensive grind, reaching level 100, dear god, and the sheer amount of boredom, but I did do everything in the DLC, so let's discuss if Bethesda can redeem Starfield with this DLC expansion. After all, they've had some hit expansions with Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. The DLC starts off really strong. You find an orbital station called the Oracle transmitting a distress call, but also telling you to stay away. Curiosity gets the best of the protagonist, and you head inside, finding ghostly figures and a strange plasma-like substance. Fighting through the station, you restore power and immediately head into the homeworld of House Room through a grav jump. This is an exceptional opening as it provides an interesting mystery while capitalizing on the sense of isolation while in space. You find out that the people are dealing with a calamity. Half the city was destroyed in a massive explosion, and the speaker of House Room has become a phantom, the speaker being the head of their government. Strangely, only you can hear and communicate with these phantoms. You are tasked with the current leaders to save their speaker Anosko while uniting the three houses and investigating the cause of the explosion. The narrative is okay, it leads strong and ends with a solid final mission, but the middle and ending is a true drag. The missions are all involving you becoming an errand boy to solve some issues within each of the three houses. It all seems trivial considering they're all being attacked by phantoms of their people and their speaker is gone. None of the bulk of the middle line missions connect to the main objective and in a way do call back the classic Bethesda question of doing random things but not in a good way. Seeing these are mainline missions, they should connect to the primary objective in some way and not just be loosely connected. But all of them feel like separate affairs and more like side quests masquerading as mainline content, like finding the son of a house leader so he can execute him for deserting his house or saving hostages. None of these situations matter to the main objective and highlight how Andreja's people are either incompetent or don't really understand the gravity of the situation despite them being the ones who gave me this quest in the first place. Your leader is gone, your city is in disarray, and most of the people are dead and trying to kill you as phantoms. I feel like trying to do everything else should be secondary. The finale is even more disappointing as it comes with little consequence. Unless you have an invested interest in Andreja, you won't really care. You'll decide which house will take the command and role, and decide whether to continue a holy war or not. Worse, the final reward for all your hard work is just a vacant house, and none of these consequences really mattered. I picked all three houses in separate decisions and nothing changed. Even if I chose to continue the holy war or not, nothing changed. They still acted the same way, so I'm not really sure what was even the point of everything here. As I stated, the DLC opens and ends with a bang, but the first and final mission are the highlight of the DLC with incredible presentation, and the final mission is set in a unique location with hectic battles and dynamic situations. You literally phase through the floor, it's pretty awesome. The final boss is a letdown, but the setting of the fight is amazing as you face off against rapidly respawning phantoms while attempting to destroy a device that may call an elder god to your galaxy. Unfortunately, everything else about the DLC is a letdown. First off, it's short, but it's also the same length of many other DLC campaigns within Bethesda's catalog. The issue is that much of the DLC is unimpressive in its presentation. The planet of House Room looks like everything else, only with a purple hue and a Skyrim skybox. I've seen No Man's Sky planets with more impressive flora and fauna than this. Despite being a secret planet, you encounter spacers and Crimson Fleet pirates for some reason. Yeah, there are crashed ships on the planet, but this could have been an interesting story element. Having people who accidentally found the planet shot down by the locals or crashed by accident, forcing them to never leave. Considering how executions and deadly duels are part of this society, they could have made some interesting narratives with that type of foundation, such as a settlement consisting of people who are unable to leave the planet, create a shantytown where there are a bunch of refugees from crashed ships, or in an isolated community that's allowed to exist because of this happening, or even create quests based on whether you can help these people escape the planet or help the local society in destroying all of them within this shantytown. You see, there are a lot of great things they could have done with this. Instead, much of the content is very bare bones. You'll do the same activities as with the core game. The city itself is small. Granted, that's because of an explosion that wiped out most of the capital, but New Atlantis, Neon, and even Mars had more impressive cities than this. The surrounding area of the city is just bare, with ordinary farms, caves that contain nothing, and just random camps. It's almost like the developers blew their budget on the final level and just used whatever recycled assets they could for everything else. DLC such as Point Lookout from Fallout 3, Skyrim's Dragonborn, the Shimmering Isles from Oblivion, and Fallout 4's Nuka Worlds, to name a few, didn't feature long main quest lines, but the entire expansion had so many additions that it easily overshadowed everything else. You went to a new location, found unique gear that was only available at those locations. The sense of discovery was reignited because you found a new landscape complemented by quests, and the NPC locals to the setting offered a refreshing take to the core area that was different from the mainline game. Shattered Space does none of this, and it feels more like content that was cut from the base game. Unlike Bethesda's more impressive DLCs, you generally do not feel like you're missing out on anything, as opposed to, say, exploring the Dawnguard DLC and finding the Vampire Slayers, or learning about why the Mechanist has a robot army in Fallout 4. But Shattered Space just never has anything that's worth exploring. It just feels like busy work and just a really overglorified side quest. Worse is that Andreja, who should have had significant input on this DLC considering it's her people, rarely does anything. She acts the same way as she did in the core game, with the exception of the ending where you can get exiled and then she decides to leave you, but you can also override that decision if you have the second chance trait and in a romantic relationship with her, so there's little consequence to anything you do here. Shattered Space attempts to recapture the allure that made Bethesda expansions enticing, but fails to do so. Considering many publishers have increased the standard for expansions such as Monster Hunter Iceborne, The Witcher 3 post-launch content, Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree, and even Bethesda's own catalog of amazing expansions, Shattered Space simply is not worth the $30 asking price. The story content provided is lackluster, there's no worthwhile rewards, and the sense of discovery is non-existent. Only dead locations filled with empty NPCs that you've fought before. Starfield may have already faced an uphill battle at launch, but the expansion won't change the mind of players who've decided to uninstall this game and never return.